Hey everyone! Alright, today's video is going to be over how to find the circumference of a circle. Your objective: I will be able to calculate the circumference of a circle. So first of all, let's review the parts of a circle. So first we have the diameter. The diameter is a distance across a circle, and it has to go through the center. The radius is a distance from the center of a circle to the edge. Now, as you can see here, the radius is half the size of the diameter. The diameter is twice the size of the radius. If you get these words mixed up, remember, the diameter is longer than the radius, just like the word diameter is longer than the word radius. So the circumference of a circle, that means we are finding the distance around a circle, or you could call it the perimeter of the circle. So let's talk about where the formulas come from to find circumference. So we said before a radius is half of the diameter. Remember, the radius goes from the center to the edge. So in this picture here, what they have done is they have taken the radius and they have placed it around the circle. And as you can see, it fits around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And then this little piece of red is just a little bit left over. So a radius fits around a circle approximately 6 times. So if a diameter is twice as long, then that means it would take 1, 2, 3 diameters with just a little bit left over. Now, any circle, no matter how big or how small, if you take its diameter and put it around the outside of the circle, it will fit about 3 times with just a little bit left over. So, the circumference divided by the diameter equals about 3. Now that little bit left over is where pi comes in. You guys remember pi is 3.14. So that's where pi comes from, because literally any circle, if you take its diameter, it's going to fit around it approximately 3.14 times. Now, pi is a decimal that keeps going. There's no pattern to it. So 3.14 is just a rounded value for it. We have rounded it to the hundredths place. But we are going to use pi in all of our circumference problems, and that means we're going to use 3.14. All right, so if you're looking for the circumference, remember the diameter fits around it about 3 times. So you're going to take pi and multiply it times the diameter, and that's going to give us the circumference. Now, remember, the diameter is twice the radius. So if they're giving you a radius on a picture, just take the radius and multiply it by 2. That's like finding the diameter. Then multiply it by pi to get the circumference. So your steps, you're going to write down the formula first that you need based on whether they gave you a radius or a diameter. Then you're going to substitute information into the formula, and then you're going to just multiply. Okay, so let's do some examples together. Example 1, we're going to find the circumference of this circle. Now, as you can see here, they gave us a radius. Remember, the radius is the smaller one. It just goes from the center to the outside. So we have a radius of 5. Since we have a radius, we are going to use this formula right here that has the r in it. So I'm going to write the formula. Circumference equals 2 pi r. Now I'm going to rewrite it, and then I'm just going to substitute in the information. So circumference equals 2 times pi, which we are going to use 3.14, times the radius, which is 5. Now remember, I said we can just go ahead and take the number 2 and the radius and just multiply them together, and then we'll have the diameter. So if we do 2 times 5, that would be 10. So we have 10 times 3.14, and I'm going to work that out over here. Sorry, I need to line that up better. Alright, so multiplying by 0, we just get zeros here, put a placeholder. 4 times 1 is 4, 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 1 is 3. And we add all of that together. We have 2 decimal places. So, our circumference is 31.4 feet. Now, the reason I wrote that on this line, it's approximate, because like I said before, with pi, 3.14 is rounded to the hundredths place. So that's just an approximate value of pi. If we want the exact circumference, that means we don't even use pi. We just literally multiply the radius times 2 and then put pi next to it. Here's what I mean by that. So for the exact amount, that's 2 times pi times r, 2 times pi times 5, so we get 10 pi. So again, if it asks for the exact amount, it just means don't even do anything with pi, use the other numbers and stick pi on the end of that. Alright, example 2, find the circumference of the circle. Alright, so we see a line that goes through the center of the circle and touches both edges. So this is a diameter. So the diameter equals 12. So we are going to use this formula right here. Circumference equals pi times the diameter. Now I'm going to substitute information we know. So pi is 3.14 and the diameter is 12. So all we're doing here is just multiplying those two values together. So I'm going to work that out over here. Alright, 4 times 2 is 8, 1 times 2 is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. Put the placeholder, and then we are multiplying all of these by 1, so we get a 4, a 1, and a 3. And we're going to add. We have 2 decimal places, so we must have 2 decimal places in our answer. So it says to round to the nearest tenth here, so here's the tenths place. 8 is greater than 5, so that's going to bump up. So our approximate circumference is 37.7 centimeters. Again, it's approximate because 3.14 is an approximate value for pi. Now, for the exact amount, that one's a lot more simple. So we have pi times the diameter. So we're just going to leave pi looking the same way it is. So that would be pi times 12. And usually when we have a coefficient and a variable, we put the coefficient first. So here, as the exact circumference, it's literally just 12 pi. All right, example 3. We are given a circumference, but now we have to work backwards to find the diameter of the circle. So since we're finding diameter, we are going to use this formula that has the letter D for diameter. So circumference equals pi times the diameter. The circumference is 15.7. So I need to make sure I plug that in the formula. We know that pi is 3.14. And the diameter we don't know, so we just leave that as a letter D. So now, if you think back to last semester, we just have a simple one-step equation. So remember, we want to isolate the variable. So the inverse of multiplying by 3.14 is to divide and then that becomes 1, so we're literally left with one letter D. Alright, 3.14 into 15.7. I've got to move the decimal 2 places outside, which means I move it 2 places inside. Alright, 314 can actually go into 1,570 5 times evenly. So I want you to pause and I want you to actually work that part out. Okay, so we got 5. So the diameter here equals 5 centimeters. All right, now it is time for you to try. You are going to find the approximate circumference of the circle below and make sure you use 3.14 as pi. If you need to round your answer, round it to the nearest tenth.